right, everyone. Welcome to the show. Tennessee Wildcast, the weekly podcast for the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. Good to have you back here again. I'm going to tell you right up front, all those shows that you haven't watched, y'all go watch them. Yeah. If you're new, because there's a lot of shows that came before this one, you'll learn a lot about what's going on in your state with the Wildlife Resources Agency and with a lot of good sportsmen who work here and other places. Right. Jason Harmon.
You can watch and listen out there on tnwildcast.com and that'll get you to every show and you can stay connected.
Watch him do some of his extra stuff out on our Facebook.
Yeah,
a little shorter version. Speaking of that, before we get into some of our current events, you've had Cape Taylor on recently talking about baiting on an extra. Really good piece that straightened out some stuff.
Yep.
That's on Facebook. And also banner. You'll see it going across the top. You talked with Richard Kirk about what's going on with the turkey study in Middle Tennessee. And that's on that. We put that on the banner, right?
Yep.
Went up on the banner, and then Barry Cross put out this cool video about the new vendor service in Tennessee for our licensed agents and for you, the sportsman, that will really explain it well.
Right.
And why you're getting a piece of paper now that looks like that right there when you go buy a license, right?
Yep.
And we're going to have to repeat all that on March 1st when the most people go out and start buying their license again. But new vendor system, we've been talking about now for a few weeks. Licensed agents are distributing these papers like this. Everything's made to just make it easier for you to get a license now, whether you shop for them yourself or go to a licensed agent.
Right.
Stick that thing in your pocket, get it on your mobile device, your iPhone or your Android or whatever you like, and just say, Mr. Officer, here's my license. And you're covered. Or have pieces of paper like Jason always says. Stick one in your wallet.
Yeah.
Stick one in your pocket. Stick one in your glove compartment.
Print off as many of those as you want to and have them wherever you need them. Tackle box, whatnot.
Yeah, and one thing we had at, when you buy a license like this and you decide, hey, I just bought the fishing license or the Type 01 license, I think now I want to go buy a WMA permit and because I'm going to go hunting squirrel on whatever WMA. Mm-hmm. You could just throw that one away, go purchase it either online or at a licensed agent, and then they just add the next line below the line above it. So it just keeps building up and easy for you to see.
Yeah, just like on the screen there, it shows a big game and a resident combo on the same license. And you can buy those separate, and if you buy them, one after each other, they'll line up on that sheet for you.
They will. And of course, all that advertising on the side, you can cut your license right out of there. Yeah. You don't have to look at that advertising, but we want you to, right?
Yeah, might be some good information in there.
And a cool thing coming up soon. We've hinted at it before, and we're going to have a hard copy. I mean, a hard license. Just coming out. It's a collector's license. We're calling it, illustrated by a guy named Ralph McDonald, who's one of the best wildlife artists in the country. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be making a big deal out of that, but you're going to like it. It's $5 extra if you want to carry it around. But it's going to be a cool license to have with some wonderful art. It's going to have a deer on this one and a fish on the one in the spring. But more of that coming later.
But yeah, that'll fit right in your wallet, just next to your credit card, and have it with you all the time.
Have you been out muzzleloader hunting?
Yes. I'm going to say yes.
Okay, you're going to say yes. All right. But we are in muzzleloading season now, and hope you're having a good season. The weather's working for you. It's a full 2-week season, so you got another week or so to go. Look at your guide, okay, because I don't have it sitting right in front of me. But after that's done, what begins?
Gun season.
Conventional gun. So it's gun time now for you, and it's an exciting time, and hopefully the weather will work out, and we'll have a big harvest this year across Tennessee. Plenty of deer out there, and want to remind all you folks that are coming into muzzleloader, and some of you will hunt for the first time with your gun this year, that we have a new law as pertaining to our deer, our bucks, and what makes an antlered deer now. That's what they want it to be called, an antlered deer. And if an antler breaks the skin on a deer, if it gets above that hairline, it's considered an antler or a buck, and you can only get 2 of those this year. So keep that in mind. There's a lot written about it in our hunting guide or on our website. Lots of information been out there. So be careful with if you like to hunt bucks, then you're going to have to be careful. Okay?
Be careful.
All right.
Yep.
All right. So, and get those youngsters out there still. Even though they've had their hunt, they still want to keep hunting, right? Mm-hmm. We're going this week. All of us are going. Todd's going, and Todd might be going, but Jason's going, Lee's going. We're all going over to Kentucky, up to Kentucky. Going to get some video of carp.
Yeah, and catching some carp, hopefully.
Yeah, catching a bunch of carp and trying to figure out how to get rid of these things, and we'll bring you some video on that.
The Asian carp.
They're interested. Asian carp, for sure. These are silver carp you're looking at, but we have big head and silver are the ones that are most thought of, and trying to figure out ways to stop their spread across Tennessee and Kentucky, and maybe get some commercial fishermen to work with us, and we'll be bringing some information on that. And also want to remind you, the Corps of Engineers sent us a press release, and I appreciate them for doing that. U.S. Corps of Engineers here in Nashville sent a press release letting sportsmen know that if you fish below dams, that they have now put lights above the gates. There's two things there. There's generators and there's gates. The generators are dangerous enough. You need to be careful around them. But if you go to the gates and they open them, that's when that water spills. And that's when you really need to move away from there, move downstream. And they've got lights on there now. These lights will go off along with other stuff, letting you know that the gates are opening and to move away. And if the gates are way, way open, I think all of you got enough common sense to know when there's too much water spilling, just don't go at all. And sometimes that happens in flood situations.
Make sure you got the life jacket on.
Always. And it's the law below a dam, whether it's a TVA dam or a Corps of Engineers dam. And these are core dams we're talking about, right? A lot of them here in the mid-state, up in Kentucky. That's where the Cumberland River flows a lot.
Yep.
Anyway, flows outside Middle Tennessee a little bit. All right, what else? Anything before we go?
I think we should bring in our guest now.
Let's do. He's a new person for us. I got to meet him just a minute ago, and it's Brandon Simcox. And Brandon is a young biologist for us. He's working as our statewide river and streams coordinator.
Right.
And boy, that sounds like fun, Brandon.
It's a blast.
Yeah, that sounds like a dream job. There's a lot of people out there jealous right now over what you get to do. So let's learn a little bit about you. We're going to talk about the winter trout stocking program, which you're heading up. But you also like to fish in the small waters, and we will talk about that some too. But let's talk about Brandon a little bit. Where'd you grow up, and where'd you go to school?
So I'm a Memphis native, from West Tennessee. Went to school at University of Tennessee in Knoxville. Got my bachelor's degree in wildlife and fisheries management from there. And then I went on and got my master's degree from Auburn University.
Very good.
In fishery science. I've after that bounced around for a while doing different fisheries tech jobs out in Utah and Oregon and Washington, and came back here for a little while, worked for the Smoky Mountain National Park for a little bit, and then took a job down in Florida, and I was a fisheries biologist down there for about
Tampa,
4 years. Yep, down in Tampa.
Okay.
Yep, for the Southwest region.
So you've seen all kinds of fish.
Wow. Oh yeah, I've worked trout, snook, redfish, bass, crappie, you name it.
What'd you do out in Utah?
Out there, I was working on brook trout in some high alpine lakes. I worked on some cutthroat trout restoration.
Good fishing out there?
Oh, great
Is
fishing.
It?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the Utah doesn't come to my mind. I'm sure avid trout fishermen know Utah's a fantastic trout fishery.
It's great. Yep. Little town I was living in had a couple of blue ribbon streams running right through it. It was really good.
Did you stay in those a lot?
Oh yeah.
Working and not working,
Yep.
sampling. Yeah.
Hey, some of the sampling did require the fly rod out there. So
hey, that's why the job's so great.
Yeah. Hey, I think he can show you how to catch some fish.
Brandon, if you can do that, we'll keep videoing you for sure. We'll make a star out of you if you can show us how to catch a fish. All right. Well, good deal. So you worked all over the country, and here you are. You're still an awful young guy to have been all over the country. So you've been pretty busy.
Yep.
Plus, all the way to a master's degree.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I was very fortunate early on at UT to have a good advisor there to kind of get me going in the right direction, to kind of push me to go do a bunch of different things, and was able to finally work my way back to Tennessee.
I was going to say, are you home?
I'm home.
Are you here to stay?
Yep, I'm here to stay.
All right, you're up in our fisheries division working with Frank Fiss and all the guys up there and forming a strong team up there. You're getting ready to do something that the sportsmen like in our state that was started about a decade ago, give or take, and that's stock trout, winter trout in our state. And what's the difference, before we talk about where and all that stuff, what's the difference in a winter trout program and the spring trout program?
Okay, so the winter trout program starts here actually at the end of the month. It's going to get cranked up. Usually runs from late November through about February, and then the spring program starts in March and runs through about June, July, with some of those streams kind of continuing on into as late as September. The winter trout program's mainly focused on stocking in city areas, kind of in central, kind of trying to attract those urban anglers that don't really have those opportunities to do much trout fishing at all, or in those areas that have no trout fishing or very limited access to it. And so, that's kind of the whole goal of it, is to attract those new anglers out of urban areas, give them an extra opportunity to catch trout across the state.
Okay. All right. So this happens in the winter. And I don't want to confuse folks. We also, if you look in our guide, in our fishing guide, you'll see where there's a lot of streams that are stocked April, May, June. And those we usually announce we used to, you can tell me if we still do, Brandon, we would tell folks the week of, the county, and the body of water. Whereas the winter stocking, different bodies of water mostly. I think all of them are.
Yep.
And we give them the exact day.
Exact day when the truck's going to be there. Yep.
Yeah. And that's done just so they can make sure they come take these fish?
Mm-hmm. Yep. We're the whole goal is for these anglers to get out there and to harvest these fish. I mean, that's what they're there for. So
it's a put and take.
It is. It's a complete put and take fishery.
Okay. Which is not to say some of the springs not, because a lot of that's put and take too.
Yeah. So both of those systems or those programs, that fish survival is really dictated by the warm water in the summer.
Okay.
And so throughout the season they'll survive throughout the winter, but when the water starts warming up, it's they're going to have a hard time hanging on.
They are, and that's what they do. And just if you're not familiar with it, this mostly happens in Middle Tennessee and west of here.
Right.
A little bit east here. It goes up at least around Cumberland County, Crossville or so. I think maybe a little further east. But East Tennessee's blessed with streams
they've
and
got
trout, so not so much there. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So we stock for the winter trout program about 40 different locations across the state.
Okay.
Mainly in Region 1, West Tennessee, and Middle Tennessee here, in about 30 different counties get stocked for the winter program. And then the spring program is more kind of expands those opportunities up here in East Tennessee and up on the plateau, with some stocking that does take place in West and Central Tennessee here.
Okay, all right. And an idea of it here in Middle Tennessee, like it's a tailwater below Percy Priest Dam, really warm water in the summer, but very cold in the winter.
Right.
Or I know on the Cumberland Plateau near Crossville, we stock a little lake over there. Used to. Way too warm in the summertime. It's just an example.
Right.
So it could be anywhere from a small stream to at least a river-sized body of water to a pond. Is that correct? Or a small lake even? Yeah,
most of our stocking, a lot of our stocking for the winter program is actually done in ponds.
Okay.
There at city parks. That's where a lot of them take place.
Oh, I did just get outside and even in the wintertime.
Exactly, yeah.
And go fish. Okay. Are there limits on these fish? Are there size limits or are there krill limits on the winter trout stocking program?
So on the winter trout, it follows a statewide trout regulation. That's a 7-fish bag limit. With no size limit on those fish. All those fish are stocked at about 10 inches, and they're not really going to put on much growth throughout the winter. And so they're there, ready for the grill.
All right. They eat them right there. Take them well. Almost right there. If you like sushi, I guess you could eat them right there, but you might want to cook them. All right. So that's great. Hatcheries that bring them to us, who creates them or who produces them in Tennessee?
Okay, so we have 4 state hatcheries. That's Buffalo Springs, Irwin State, Tellico, and Flintville. And then we work with Irwin National Fish Hatchery. That's up around Elizabethton, and Dale Hollow National Fish Hatchery. So Irwin National provides eggs to Buffalo Springs. Buffalo Springs will hatch them out and then grow them up to various sizes. Then they'll take fish and run them over to Irwin State Hatchery, where we'll grow them out to a stockable size. And then Irwin State kind of stocks a lot of those streams kind of up around East Tennessee. Dale Hollow National Fish Hatchery provides trout to like Tellico, and then we'll grow those fish up to kind of a little bit more advanced size. For stocking. Flintville is kind of off on their own. They actually get eggs from Trout Hatchery out west in Washington, and so they grow them up from egg to harvestable size, mainly for our winter trout program and for some of the spring stocking.
Okay, I don't know what you've shown up there, Jason. Excuse me, but one of the shots is of a hatchery, and this is if you can pull that one up, it's what a typical trout hatchery looks like. It's a raceway. It's not a big pond. It's a long. It's long water like this, and there's a reason for that, right?
Yeah, so that's the whole flow-through system right there. We do have actually in Flintville, we had just added a circular tank inside the building.
Inside, okay.
And so we're actually growing trout in there, kind of testing that all out to see how those fish are doing. And those fish were hatched in February, and we have them already up to about 9 inches, so they're going to be ready to go.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Usually within the raceways, those fish are about 18 months before they're actually stocked out.
Is it looking at that raceway? Do you segregate the fish in sizes a lot of times? Do
hatchery
guys do that?
They will. Yep. So they'll kind of parse those fish out into different size classes, and so that they can kind of promote the feed a little bit more to get those fish growing a little bit.
I guess
kind of
feed
grade them
size
out.
is different.
Yep, and grade them out, and then get them out for stocking.
My understanding for you then, this is Flintville. This is down in Lincoln County, but they start in a building usually where they're either at eggs or just hatched out.
Right.
And then whatever size they get to inside, eventually they move out into that raceway and move down that raceway until the big trucks come to get them.
Pick them up.
and they either stay free for a little while or they become dinner. And so, are we putting in the winter trout project program? We putting any brown or brooks out anywhere?
No, with the winter trout program, that's entirely rainbow.
Okay.
Yep.
What about the spring program?
The spring, they'll get some brown trout in some of our spring program, but it's mainly rainbows.
Okay,
also.
we're mainly a rainbow state.
Yep.
And Brandon, I know you haven't been here in your position long, but there's the history on trout, as I understand it, is that they weren't native here except for the brook trout way east up,
yep.
but the rainbow and even the brown we have weren't native. They were more of like a mitigation fish. Is that correct?
Right. So through some land use practices up in East Tennessee, a lot of our native brook trout populations kind of got reduced. And so they came back in and brought rainbow trout in to kind of backfill and start stocking in there. And so they've kind of have taken hold in a lot of East Tennessee streams. So there's wild rainbows and wild browns that actually naturally reproduce here now, along with the brook trout. But then we also, like I said, we stock brook trout in our tailwaters. We stock brown trout and rainbow trout.
And I really think of the tailwaters, too, is when you think of mitigating waters or waters that we're putting fish in because they're colder than they were 100 years ago before the dams were built.
Right, when those fisheries were traditionally a smallmouth fishery, with cold flows coming out below the dams, now we kind of mitigate that with the cold water fishery with the trout.
Okay, all right. Now, and if you got something, pop in there.
Oh, I'm good. I'm learning a lot here.
Okay, all right. And if you want to learn, if this thing's going to start in November, the trout stocking will start in late November. I've been to many of the first days below here in Nashville, below Percy Priest Dam. It seems like that's in Middle Tennessee, the traditional starting.
Yep.
But if you want to find out where they are, where the schedule is, when the fish are going in, what do you need to do?
So you can go onto the website, tnwildlife.org, and under the anglers section, there's a rivers and streams tab. And on there, you can go to a stock trout page. And on that stock trout page, it has our stocking location map. It has the days that we'll actually be stocking for the winter trout program. Okay. And then it also has our schedule for the spring stocking for the week of. So that's all laid out there. So you should know when they're going to be there.
Bookmark it and look at it all the time. Is it out there now, or will it be out there soon?
It's up. Yep. Okay. It's already up.
I'm showing it to him, Doug.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Look at you.
If you're watching,
excellent.
You can see it.
I'm watching Brandon. Watching you out of the corner of my eye.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, that's great. And they need to refer to this often because winter is winter, and sometimes you have conditions that it creates conditions where our guys can't go.
Right. Yeah. So keep an eye on that every day because those stockings could change. If the roads are too icy or something, the hatchery can't get there. We'll move it back and we'll update it. It'll be updated. If something happens, it'll be changed, so you'll know the day that the truck's going to get there.
Yeah, we don't want our guys hurt. We don't want y'all hurt either going out there fishing. Yeah. The fish will wait. You'll still get them. But most of the time, it seems like, Brandon, in years past, there's hardly ever been a stocking that's just postponed.
Right.
It's really rare. You usually get back out there and put them in at some point.
Yep.
All right.
We'll try to keep them up to date on Twitter and Facebook.
We will.
Too, on
that's
those,
great.
On those stockings.
We'll let you know winter what's going on and the conditions and all that. Fishing for them. You're a fisherman.
Mm-hmm.
What tips would you give for fishing for these winter trout?
For the winter trout, so I actually, it's kind of cool. So I actually started fishing this program long before I knew that I was going to work for TWRA or even had an idea.
Cool,
so
really.
Fishing some of the ponds in West Tennessee and Memphis. And so the easiest thing is just take a spinning rod out there, grab you a small hook, some split shot, grab a can of whole kernel corn or power bait, and go out, grab a lawn chair, and just sit out there and kind of enjoy the day.
Wait for it to happen.
Yeah.
Wrap up a little bit if you have to.
Yeah.
That's good. And let's get him a little more specific in case someone's never fished for trout. When you talk about getting the spinning reel out and the rod, that's, of course we know what a spinning reel is, but keep that line really light. Don't put out 10 or 12 pound tests.
About 6 pound test.
Okay.
Yep. Light split shot, just to get it down. And then, small hook, maybe a size, 8 hook, or even a small, if you want to use a little treble hook, like a little size 14, something really small.
You kind of just think of it, that Berkeley power egg, just enough that tip comes out of that hook, or a couple of niblets at the most that comes out of it.
Yeah.
You got a secret? 2 niblets or 3 niblets, or spraying it with WD-40, or putting a little garlic on it? Or
no
be careful. He's looking for all the secrets he can get.
Yeah, I'm always looking. All right, and every now and then, I know Jason showed a photograph a while ago of a larger fish, and I didn't want to confuse folks with that. That's actually a Del Holla fish, okay? It was caught by a guy that fishes there in the wintertime. I put it out there because occasionally you guys will put a surprise in somewhere where the hatcheries will have a brood fish or a bigger fish.
Yeah, if the fish are available, we often stock fish out. We kind of spread them around across the state, so you never know where they're going to be at. Yeah. But rainbow trout up to 18 inches, put in those ponds.
That's a big fish. If you catch that one, you've had a good day. Go buy your lottery ticket because you've done all right by that. And another tip or two from me on the trout stuff, because I've watched a lot of these guys. We have something called we call them the Trout Warriors. They're veterans of Korea and World War II, and they're getting a little on up in age too. But they gathered for years at these trout stockings, which makes them so special to me. Mm-hmm. Not just for kids, but some of these guys and ladies that need something to do, want something to do in the wintertime, and they have loved this program, and they can catch the heck out of fish. Mm-hmm. But I've watched a lot of them take those small spinners out there, especially in the tailwaters, especially where there was a little water moving. They'll take a Met spinner or something like the old ABU, if you remember that, or a Panther Martin. They're little bitty spinners with gold and silver blades on light line and toss them out there. Sometimes just let them almost sit while they hold the rod high and just let them spin. And they'll reel them too. Yeah. Just a real slow, and I've seen them catch them almost coming out of the truck, just about. But it's something else you might want to try. If you got two rods, throw one out there. But anyway. Yeah. And they bite lightly sometimes.
They do.
So you got to be careful with that. What about recipes? Do you cook them?
I do. I take it pretty simple. I just take olive oil, just cover them that, and season them, throw them on a grill, wrap them in foil, cook them for about 5 minutes on each side, and
not filleting. You're doing whole fish.
Whole fish. Cut the head off, gut them, and whole fish. Yeah.
You got any cooking suggestions?
I like deep fried myself.
Well, they'd be good like that too. But there's healthy, right? Yeah.
I guess.
I like fried too. That's the way I would do it, and it would be good. I've done it on a grill too, and they're awful good like that. And you don't have to go buy them in the store when we're putting them out all over the place. Any idea numbers of trout we release in Tennessee in a year?
Yeah, so in a year we stock about 1.9 million trout across the state.
Golly.
Yeah, within the winter program, I think we stock about 95,000 go out. So the majority of the fish are into the tailwaters, a little over 1.5 million, around 1.5 million just go into the tailwaters.
Fishing, and this is too, Brandon, I've fished for them downriver, way downriver where they go in, so they travel. We've caught them trolling down on the Stones River, 3 miles below Percy Priest Dam, and a few years ago fishing with my friend Vernon below Cheatham Dam here in Middle Tennessee. Wow. Cheatham Dam, I don't know what the closest body, he caught about a 12-inch rainbow trout. Wow. So that thing had come, it was a winter fish, it had come out of one of the streams downriver. They can get over, they can come through the locks too. But these things are wayfarers. They will spread out.
They will, yeah. I've had some calls when I first got here of people catching them 10 miles upstream on the Harpeth River from our nearest stocking location. So they'll get out and they'll move around.
So don't be too surprised if you pull up a trout sometime. And every now and then it seems to me, listening to fishermen, that they'll catch 1 or 2 or 3 in the summer because maybe they've found them a spring somewhere or something cold.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it won't hold over still throughout the summer. There's not any water that stays cold enough, but they'll find some areas that they can hold on for as long as they can.
Yeah, so take them home. That's the thing.
Take them home.
You might as well take them home and eat them, and not try to grow them up to be trophies. Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else on the trout program? Because I want to talk just fishing with you for a minute, too.
He's wanting to steal some of your tips. Is what he wants to do.
Are you taking notes for me?
Yeah.
Todd, you taking notes for me? All right. Let's talk just fishing. You're a fisherman from way back, and you like the small waters like we do.
Yep.
And you're a big smallmouth person in addition to trout.
I am.
But let's talk about smallmouth fishing in the little waters.
Okay.
How do you do it?
So I usually take my
straight up. There he goes. How do you do it?
That's right. Where do you do it?
So I just have got back to Tennessee to fish. I was chasing redfish and snook down in Florida.
We got to talk about that too.
Yeah. So I'm still kind of figuring it all out. But I fish right here in Nashville a lot, right on the Harpeth. 15 minutes down the road.
That's a good point. That's a great river, and a lot of people think because a river runs through congested areas they're not good, and that's just not a fact.
No, and there's some big smallmouth in there, some 20-inch plus, smallmouth right here in Nashville.
Yeah, that's a big fish.
Yeah.
That's a big fish in a lake. You get
Yeah.
that out of a small body of water, they're so strong.
Yeah.
Well, when you fish for them, are you canoeing, are you kayaking, are you wading, or all the above?
Kind of all of the above. A lot of times I'll take the kayak out if I'm going out by myself, and I'll paddle upstream, as fish as far as I can for the day, and then get to a certain point, and then just turn around and drift fish it all the way back. I'll take my boat out sometimes and go on the lower parts of the rivers or out on the Cumberland and try to chase them around out there. But, yeah, a lot of it's just out of my kayak or out of a canoe.
Okay. And what kind of gear when you're fishing for smallmouth in these small bodies of water?
I use a lot of light tackle. I usually will take the cast net out, try to cast net up some stone rollers or something like that. Or I'll use just small soft plastics, top waters, pop R's, the whopper plopper.
Go, stop. Let's discuss, what is a whopper plopper? I love it.
It's a pretty unique stick bait.
Yeah.
It's got a big prop on the back, and you can kind of just work it across the top. Yep. It's
They come up and hit
making
that
a lot
thing.
of noise. Yep, and they'll destroy it.
Is it better than a
That is
buzzbait?
fun.
I'd say so, because you can actually stop it and it'll sit there, and then you can keep it
Instead of-
going again instead of sinking. So yeah.
Okay. Are you still light lining when you're fishing for smallmouth?
Yeah, for the most part. I think on my rod right now, I've probably got about 6-pound test on that.
That seems
and,
about right.
Yeah.
And but they will break you off if you're not
Oh
careful.
yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
lot more often than not, for
Yeah,
sure.
when they get that size, they're just an
Yeah.
incredible fish. That's why they're on our license plate, and it's called the King of Fish.
Yeah.
Because if you ever caught one out of a small body of water, you know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
They're special. All right, so when you just as a tip, when you're in a canoe or a kayak, when you do you ever stop and get out when you come across an area that looks special?
Yep. Yeah, so I'll pull up usually at a little gravel bar or something and get out and usually fish a deep hole for a good, 15, 20 minutes, trying to work it as best as I can, see what I can pull out of there. And once I work that hole over, I'll just keep on, find the next spot, or I'll just pull off to the side and kind of wade up and down for a little while and just see what it takes. It changes every day you're out there, I feel like.
Yeah, and there's a lot of bodies of water where you don't need permission. The Harpeth is a large enough body of water that if you can find an access point, you're okay with that.
Usually, yeah.
Usually.
Yep.
Always check, though. But if you're going to a lot of the smaller bodies of water, and Tennessee is full of smallmouth streams, you need to knock on doors and ask for permission.
Mm-hmm.
And always, if you take anything in with you, like you're going to drink a Coke or whatever, bring the bottle back out with you, okay?
Right.
That really hurts us when the ones don't do that. But just be responsible with the landowner and after you knock on the door. And I've never had any trouble getting permission when
No, I
I
haven't
knocked on the
either.
door, getting onto a body of water.
Yep.
So, good place to go. What about you?
I think we need to get some crappie fishing tips. He said he fished a lot of crappie, did a lot of crappie fishing
Talk
in
to our
West Tennessee.
Memphis. Talk to our West Tennessee friends. How'd you catch crappie?
A lot of crappie fishing in the springtime. Just going fishing a lot of the state lakes, Glen Springs, Herb Parsons, places like that. And then we'd go down into Mississippi a little bit and fish down there. But simple, just using a little crappie jig, throwing up against the flooded cypress trees, and that's the way we'd do
And
it.
give a plug to our West Tennessee lakes folks. Pretty good lakes.
Great Lakes, yeah.
Are they?
Yeah.
And
Like I said, that's where I cut my teeth on fishing out there, and it's there's a lot of good fishing that way.
Jason and I went over and did an interview or two over there back in the summer, and it's still out on the number of things you can go look at on our show.
Mm-hmm.
So go over there and check out some of their lakes. Well, I think we named them all at that time,
Yeah,
and
there's a bunch of them.
the possibilities of what you can do there, but it's always a good chance.
Yep.
Got another question?
How about the mighty Mississippi? Did a lot of fishing on that body of
Actually,
water?
no fishing out on the Mississippi. Some duck hunting, but that's the only time I get out there. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Not only do you fish, you duck hunt or deer hunt.
Hey, I like to chase it all for sure.
Awesome.
I've been trying this fall. I haven't had
Sportsman.
any luck yet.
Are you going to be a
but
part of the blitz at all? The carp blitz?
I'll be there next week. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, chasing carp around Kentucky Lake and all that.
We're going to
So,
go
yeah.
over there and get a lot of video and stuff, and we hope that you guys find a solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be great. It's going to be good. It'll be a good partnership with Kentucky and try to really find out a lot about these fish and distribution, kind of a relative abundance of these fish, and it'll be good. It'll be a learning experience for sure.
All right, Brandon, running out of time, but just want to tell you did a great job. And we hope to get you back on here
Yeah, for
talking
sure.
about other stuff. And
Yeah.
appreciate you coming down here and wish you the best of luck with Tennessee.
Thanks.
And I'll give you a call about those redfish and snook. I'm really striking out on those things. All right.
Hey, if you want to watch this show or listen to this show, just go to tnwildcast.com or tnwildlife.org. we're out there all day, every day, and watch us on Facebook and Twitter. We're putting out new reports and different information all the time.
Yeah, watch his extras. They're really good. Tell you a lot of information. And
Yep.
we will see you next week. Remember, you can watch all our shows anytime.
Thank y'all.